back to celebrating our evening. We invite you to continue your dessert as we move into the most exciting part of our evening, which is celebrating our awards and some classes. We have so much to celebrate this evening. Please continue to enjoy your dessert. But it is my pleasure, and I ask you to join me in welcoming the 16th president of St. Mary of the Woods College and a very dear friend, Dr. Dottie King.
Good evening. Do I have your attention? Because there's been a lot of wine at these tables, I hear. I have a few people to thank before I make my remarks, and first I'd like to start with the staff. So, Karen Dyer and the entire advancement and Marcom team, will you stand up for us? When an event looks seamless and looks like it was easy, that's proof that you have a talented staff around you. So they worked months on this, and it has been a wonderful weekend. Don't you agree? I'd also like to recognize one more time any Sister of Providence in the house. Please stand up. I'm sure everyone agrees with me that we never forget. We never forget that you're our foundresses and our sponsors, and you pray for us, and you sustain us in all we do. And the magic of St. Mary of the Woods College, the reason it's worth the effort is because of you. So thank you. I'm standing between you and the honoring of two of our wonderful alumni. And so Eva and Margaret, congratulations in advance. Proud to be here and be here to celebrate with you this evening. But I always spend some time through the weekend. I don't write remarks. I think, I listen, and try to let it be a little bit organic about what comes out. And my heart is full this weekend of the stories of the woods. I was thinking today about Mother Theodore, and in the reading, I was at the We Remember, We Celebrate service, which is always meaningful and sober, and yet reminds me what a special institution that we don't celebrate the weekend without remembering. And so I've always loved that about this weekend. And I was listening to the reading anew, written from Mother Theodore's journals, and I thought those stories for us are like the favorite storybook of children that they never tire of hearing. They want to hear them again and again. I can remember when my oldest daughter was young, and she was really fixated on this little golden book, and she wanted to hear it over and over again, and she would say, "Mommy, read it again," and I tried to skip pages. Because, you know, I was tired of reading the book, and as I would kind of try to pinch two together and turn them at once, she'd say, "Oh, we forgot one," and because it was her best story, and she knew how it went, and she didn't tire of hearing it. And it's in our DNA to love the stories of Mother Theodore. But those stories would have been magical in any sense, and yet, they're part of an ongoing legacy. They're not just stories for us. They tell us about a vision and about the sacrifice and about persistence and about challenge and about hardship. They teach us lessons. So they're more than just stories. She was a real woman She made a real sacrifice to come here. She never went back to France to live again. And she even wrote that at first Indiana felt like the land of her exile. Think about the term exile. But it became her home. And the sacrifice of her and her companions and all of those who come after, we inherit that. We inherit the benefits of those sacrifices. And the stories don't end with Mother Theodore. Through the years, the stories keep going. And I don't know them all, but I will tell you that every time I show up at reunion, some of you act as if I'm a priest and you must confess to me. So I've heard a few of your stories. Even at my table tonight, I've heard a few of the stories. And the stories of the woods are wonderful stories. Would you raise your hand if you think that your class and your era at the woods was the best ever? So whether you were in one of those really big classes of the 60s or one of the much smaller classes in later years, your experience of the woods was your experience of the woods, and you have stories to tell about it. And I've heard so many of those stories, and those stories have impacted me in a big way. They've informed me about the very fiber of this institution. And I've retold the stories, I've borrowed from them, I've learned from them, I've been inspired by them. On days when it's hard, I've remembered them. And those stories of the woods are our stories, and they're not all as well told as Mother Theodore's, but in God's economy they are. God knows those stories, and God still has a plan for this institution. I want to tell you a story that's been meaningful to me just this year, because I want to share with you that I'm not a student of the woods, I don't wear the ring, but the woods has impacted me. And I have a wood story too. And, all right, I'm going to collect myself, hold on. From Sister Ellen Cunningham. Who hired me. And when I was wavering a little bit, because my first job was I was a visiting professor, and I was afraid that that wasn't going to work out for me. And she said to me, "Oh, sometimes these things just work out." Think about those words. Sometimes these things just work out. And just that was enough to turn me around. And I thought, I'm going to trust. I'm going to trust that this 1 year might turn into something else. And Sister Jean Nerley showed up at my new faculty orientation. She seemed larger than life to me, and she told me about the mission and the legacy of the Sisters of Providence at St. Mary of the Woods College, and I was inspired by her. And so many Sisters of Providence that I've been closely affiliated with. Sister Denise was General Superior when I became president. She took me by the hand and led me to the chair. And I remember one day when we were struggling with enrollment, and she said to me, "You need to figure out what the world needs and then give it to them." Now think about that. No, listen, that sounds, you can make light of that, but there was real wisdom in that, because it's exactly what Mother Theodore did. It's exactly what she did. The Wabash Valley didn't educate girls beyond 8th grade, and so she gave them something else. And when women in Indiana needed an opportunity, when women in Indiana needed to dream bigger than they were dreaming, St. Mary of the Woods Academy became St. Mary of the Woods College. And when women needed to dream even bigger and start pushing on that glass ceiling, we added majors like journalism and gerontology, fields women weren't in. And we were changing the fabric of women's lives, but we were also changing the world and how the world looked at women and how women looked at themselves. And now, on we go. So I want to tell you my story, and then I'm going to wrap this all together. Jerry Hellman was a husband of a graduate of the class of 1964, and he was an alum on the Board of Trustees before I became president for 9 years, and then he came back on the Board of Trustees again, and so I met him really mostly in that connection. And here's what I learned very quickly about Jerry Hellman. If you cut him, something that came out had St. Mary of the Woods in it. He loved this place. I found out later that his grandfather had been here and built altars here and met his grandmother here long before Jerry met his wife here. And so Jerry was the best cheerleader this school ever had. He wanted to innovate. He was open to new ideas. He loved the Sister of Providence. He loved Mother Theodore. He loved everything about this place. And so while I was president, he went off the board. And that was a little sad, but I knew he would still be in my corner because he felt a little like a dad to me. And he walked in my office one day, and if you don't know Jerry, really tall guy, and he had this stack of things, and he wanted to show them to me, but he said to me, "I'm afraid you're not going to stay, and I think we need you for a couple more years. So I'll come back on the board if you tell me you'll stay for a couple more years." And I wasn't really thinking of leaving. But Jerry came back on the board. And Jessica mentioned tonight Woods Giving Day. That was a new event a few years ago, and Jerry was all in. He showed up. He had his own list. Of course, they were mostly from the class of 64, but he was going to be calling them and making sure that even if they had given something, they gave a little extra on the Woods Giving Day. And I would go around and try to give him a little hug and thank him for being there. He would shoo me away, like, "Leave me alone, I've got things to do." And so you can imagine how it felt when on a Monday in September, my assistant handed me her phone, and it was Jerry on the other end, and he was crying. And he told me he had stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and he didn't have much longer to be with us, but he wanted me to know that serving at the Woods was the joy of his life. Wait, it's not the end of the story. And so knowing that Jerry's time was short, I wanted to think of something really cool to do for him. And somebody pray for me that I'll get through this. So I rallied the Board of Trustees, and we gave Jerry an honorary degree. And I recorded a video of myself giving him the honorary degree. We did it all just right. The board voted. And we ordered a ring for Jerry. Nope, not the end of the story. So I sent the video to Jerry on Thursday. He called me on Monday. I sent the video to him on Thursday. And Karen was calling his sister, who was also his nurse, and said Jerry loved the video and was making everyone call him Dr. Jerry. So from then on, everyone in his household had to call him Dr. Jerry. And Karen and I made plans on Tuesday, 1 week and 1 day later than I had heard, to visit Jerry and deliver his ring to him. And he passed away on Monday. So the ring in its box went into our vault. We have a legacy ring program, and a scholarship program for students who need it. And I felt really sad that Jerry didn't get to see his ring, but he did get to be Dr. Jerry. And so fast forward. We're ending this academic year, and we have an event that we've combined from two previous events. There was always, for many years, there was a faculty senior reception, and then before that, there was an oak leaf ceremony, and we've combined those in recent years. And during that ceremony, the students turn their rings. So when I put the rings on the fingers, the SMW faces them, and then when they graduate, it faces the world. We turn it formally. And so Karen came to me and said, we have a student who wasn't going to attend the oak leaf ceremony because she didn't have a ring, and it would have been hard for her. And Catherine heard about it, Catherine Saunders, who runs our ring, the whole thing. Thank you, Catherine, you do a great job. So an employee was sharing with Catherine that she was going to give the student her ring just so the student could go to the oak leaf and turn it and then give it back. You understand the whole scenario? And Catherine said, well, why doesn't she have a ring? We have a legacy program, we have a scholarship program, why doesn't she have a ring? And she said, well, she bought a ring, she's saved, she's putting herself through school. Her mom died and her dad's not in a good position, and her dad stole her ring and sold it. So she didn't have enough money to replace her own ring. So Catherine and Karen come to me, and we all are in agreement. We're going to the legacy ring box, and we're finding the student a ring. So we know the student's size, and what, because they wear it on different fingers, whatever. But we know the size, and we go, and no rings are fitting the bill. And we only have hours to make this work. And there was Sherry's ring. And it fit perfectly. And so the student received Jerry's ring that he never wore. Now, why am I telling you that story? Because that's St. Mary of the Woods. That's our provident God. Do you think that anyone in heaven was happier than Jerry Hellman the day that girl put that ring on? I don't want to tell you her name because I don't know if the story's sad to her or embarrassing to her, but I'm telling you, she walked up to me after during that oak leaf ceremony and hugged me so tightly. I mean, she knew the whole story. And the stories of the woods go on. And so here's how I see it. You can argue with me if you want to, but here's how I see it. There's a tapestry that's been woven from Mother Theodore forward. And on the top side of it, the heavenly side of it, it's a beautiful picture. And we're all a part of it. But the stories are still being written. And the tapestry is still being woven. It's not a complete picture yet. And so, what was perfect in 1973 is your part of the tapestry. It will always be yours. And Sarah, what was perfect in 48? What? Your part of the picture was perfect for 1948. And what I want you to take away from this is for the students in 2023, we have a future. Our story's still being written. Our tapestry's still being woven. The stories of the woods are going on. They don't look like they did in 1948. They don't look like they did in 1973. But guess what? These two didn't look like each other either. Because your tapestry, think about what a tapestry looks like. It's full of colors. It's full of differences and new ones. It's not just a solid, blank, one-color thing. And it's God's picture anyway. It's not ours. We're just the hands that He uses to create it. And so, when you leave here, feel so proud about your part of the picture. Remember it, cherish it, be thankful for it, but also think about the fact that we're blessed to be part of an ongoing, important institution where the story's still being written and where the ring of Jerry Hellman could go on the hands of a girl that he never met in a perfect harmony that we didn't plan for, but God did. And so I just want to thank you for being here, for celebrating together. I want to know that I share the joy, and I just think you're all wonderful. So thank you.